The way science is best taught now, and the kind of science education that reflects the vision of the next generation science standards, is really substantially different from the way most of us as adults grew up learning science in school.
It's pretty clear that all teachers in the early years are underprepared to teach science well. What we've noticed is that teachers need to have a better understanding of science content, but not the content in terms of facts to memorize, but rather the concepts, the big ideas of science, such as structure, function. I think we all acknowledge that we need to know facts and we need to know where facts fit into the larger scheme of things. And we've weighed too heavily on knowing facts for the sake of knowing facts, as opposed to how they're applied, which would be a better balance.
It's not a lecture, it's about experiencing growth and learning.
We think that all future teachers, along with current teachers, need to be trained differently if we are to enact the vision of the framework for science education that the National Academy of Science produced a few years back.
We really did the hands-on activities ourselves. So not only did we talk about it and how important it is for language development, science, and conversation with young children, but actually doing it in our groups during our professional development really helped, because we started to talk about all these different scientific terms that maybe we hadn't thought about, and then all the other words that supported what we were doing with forces and motion and, and kind of almost decomposing the words so it was in more regular language, which is what children would speak with too,
So our professional development with teachers really parallels, and we're always modeling the kinds of teaching and the kinds of strategies we want them to use with children in classrooms.
The one-shot workshop is often fun, but totally insufficient for building this understanding. The traditional course model is okay as long as you incorporate some in-classroom experiences that teachers can go back and try out, and then talk about what they've observed about not only their own teaching, but what their students have taken away from their teaching. They notice that they have to stop talking as much and do more listening to students to have a more actively engaged classroom.
It was hard at first, because I was used to saying, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it, and holding back and letting them explore and then ask me questions about it. My whole thinking, teaching and learning has changed, and it's a good change.
So we want teachers to ask questions that are more like, how do you think this plant survives? Instead of the question like, what's this part of the plant? Which is the typical question that teachers have asked for generations.
Can you tell me, what was the difference between the earthworm and the mealworm?
They both did not bite. Both did not bite.
A lot of teaching strategy that changed for me was the questioning. How to formulate those meaningful questions and productive questions. And now I can say that I feel very comfortable in asking those open-ended questions or higher order thinking questions. Can you tell me more about what you're observing? How did you come to that conclusion?
So fundamental to our approach for working with English language learners and all children is that all children are learning English. And children learning dual language learners, or children learning English in addition to a primary home language, need many of the same things, in fact all of the same things that monolingual children, English-speaking children need.
Teachers will say, well, he's not talking, he's not talking, we are English speakers and really can't communicate with this child, and the child's not talking. But when they get involved in real inquiry, they start talking. Right? They may talk in their native language, they may pull some English that they pick up from their peers, or that they have but haven't been comfortable with, but they get so excited that they can't really remind themselves that they're not comfortable talking. And so I think we hear a lot more language from them, and I think that we give them more language that they can identify with because they're touching it, they're feeling it, and it's describing things that are right in front of them.
It really hits a lot of the Common Core objectives in which we're trying to, teach to the children, especially with the speaking and listening component. So that's number one. Number two, it allows for that rich development of language, which we know is so vital in learning how to read and write.
Where my pedagogy started from, I became more of, trained myself and taught myself to be a facilitator, not telling them, but letting them explore.
We believe that what science and engineering education can do is help students be better problem solvers and be more aware of the role of evidence in coming to some conclusion. And that isn't necessarily just a skill that's required in science.
For an administrator, when you start seeing a child who came in September that wasn't using language, and then March, they're talking to their friends and they're writing and they're speaking in English and their home language, I think that's important. To me, that's like the ideal that I came into early childhood, is to see this real learning going on that's experiential, that's relevant, that's high quality. That's what I dream for my grandson. I want that for every kid.